You work with many individuals who feel stuck, and whether in their business, sometimes even a relationship, or just the mindset. What are some of the most common patterns you see?
Yeah, so it's basically all based on our misperceptions, and it's what we choose to.
How you define authentic leadership?
So it's really actually getting a deeper understanding of who you are, why you're here, some of the biggest questions that we can ask. And it's very difficult for your purpose to change. It's very unusual for it to be fulfilled. For example, if someone has a purpose around.
Feel like companies obviously have a mission, vision, and values defined. What's helpful to write down your personal mission, vision, and values so you can actually have something to?
The first thing to do is to pay attention to what your life demonstrates is truly important to you. What do you do every day that? And so when I say, like, I definitely am going to work till the day that I die, like, that's one of my goals. I want to be one of the oldest CEOs on the planet, like 100%. I want to work till the day I die. But
how can leaders ensure that they're scaling with purpose and not losing sight of the vision?
Yeah, so definitely you want to establish your vision. That one's really important. And you want your goals to work around achieve. I want to collect data from your life. This is personal development, like at its core when it really works. It's not an affirmation. It's collecting data from your life. So if I go into your life and our journey, if you're not enjoying your day to day, you're just not enjoying your life. And the thing is I want you to fill your life with.
Welcome to Leadership Talks Podcast. I'm your host, Martin Romanski, CEO of Boardseye, and today we're joined by Carly Pepin, a transformational coach, human behavior specialist, and founder of West Coast Growth Advisors. Carly has spent over a decade helping leaders and entrepreneurs break through mental roadblocks, unlock their authentic leadership, and scale their businesses with purpose. She combines mindset coaching and practical strategies to empower others to overcome challenges and lead with clarity and impact. In this episode, we'll explore how to break free from feeling stuck, empower your leadership, and focus forward with intentionality. Let's dive right in. Welcome, Carly.
Thanks so much for having me, Martin.
I'm super excited to hear your side of all those key points are so important for leaders in general, but entrepreneurs definitely struggle with roadblocks. So
absolutely,
this should be good. So you work with many individuals who feel stuck, and whether in their business, sometimes even in relationships, and sometimes those could be holding them back in business, or just the mindset. What are some of the most common patterns you see, and what's the first step someone can take to start breaking free?
Yeah, so it's basically all based on our misperceptions, and it's what we choose to perceive in these moments that we have experiences that challenge us. And what winds up happening is we'll hold on to this misperception. It becomes a story, and those stories start to shape our life and our future. And depending on what the story is, will depend on the reason why you're stuck. You know, sometimes it's a fear of going through something again. Sometimes it's you've watched someone, like I've had this many times where I've had individuals watch their family members go through hard times in business and struggles in finances, and sometimes even in relationships. And they say, I don't want to do that. The story is this is bad. This is not good. I don't ever want to do this. I don't want to experience this. So I'm going to avoid this, right? And so you're consciously and unconsciously starting to avoid these different dynamics. There is also the potential that something that you perceive that you've done, whether it be one thing or many things, you feel so much guilt about it that you actually stop your life, you slow down, and you disconnect from receiving these different forms of wealth and abundance in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. You also talk a lot about accessing your authentic leader. I believe everybody has that within them, but some people access that easier than others. How you define authentic leadership, and what practical steps can executives take to align the actions with their true purpose?
Yeah, the first one is knowing your true purpose. That one, yeah. So it's difficult to be able to align your actions to something that you don't understand what it is. And this is the same if we think about our own personal development as what we would create as a goal in business, right? You can't have your team and your business moving towards Nothing, right? We have a goal, we have a vision, we have somewhere we're going, and that's going to be the same with you. So it's really actually getting a deeper understanding of who you are, why you're here, some of the biggest questions that we can ask, and where you personally want to go. This is something that will have a commonality between it for the rest of your life, because it's very difficult for your purpose to change. It's very unusual for it to be fulfilled. For example, if someone has a purpose around learning, right? Can you ever stop learning? Will that ever be fulfilled? Absolutely not. Yeah. If you genuinely had a life purpose around making like X amount of dollars, like $5 million or $100 million, you could reach that. That is an end goal, but most purposes don't have an end goal like that. Most individuals have a purpose that is very fluid and will stand the test of time. And it's usually a couple things. Sometimes we think of it as one specific things, but it'll be multiple things, usually about 3 things that are very high priority for an individual that they'll love to focus on. So it could be your business, it could be finances, it could be your health, it could be your family, like sometimes even with women or sometimes even men, like it's beauty and fitness and that dynamic. And it really just depends on the person. And so when you understand yourself to that degree, you can start setting short and long-term goals over what's most meaningful to you, which also creates a more inspiring and fulfilling life. But as a leader, when you understand these things, you can also structure your life around it to a greater degree and understand kind of your own unique superpower. Like I was just working, a chiropractor. She definitely has a high value on beauty, great chiropractor, and her husband's also a great chiropractor. He loves the learning and will spend all of his time learning, loves it so much. She loves getting the recaps. But then when it comes to, she freaking loves it. For sure. And she's really getting like a lot of information. And both brilliant, right? But the difference is while he's spending all this time and energy doing that, like she loves creating spaces. And so she'll create the spaces. So when you walk into their office, you don't just have like these expert individuals adjusting you. You also walk into a space that you feel warm and welcome and inviting, right? So you get into this like meditative, relaxed state. So both things are necessary and important. And part of being a leader is loving and appreciating your own version, your own purpose, the things that are valuable to you. So it's not wise for her to go and spend her time doing the same thing as the husband. It's wise for her to focus on what matters most. It's not wise for him to try to go fix the office and decorate it and create that environment, because that's not his thing. It's wise for him to spend the time on what inspires him the most. And then when they come together, they become a leadership team where one actually complements the other. And that's the cool thing about having this dynamic and understanding who you are, is when you work on a team, you understand who you are and you start to understand other people. You start to see how each one uniquely adds value, and you can work together to a greater degree. It doesn't become like, oh, opposing viewpoint bad, right? It's like, opposing viewpoint, thank you so much. Like, I don't see the world that way because it's not my purpose. So this is kind of crazy. I had never seen the value there. Let's see how we can incorporate this.
Yeah, and you talked about vision. Obviously, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't know where you're going. And I feel like companies obviously have a mission, vision, and values defined. The team gets together, they figure out, they nail it. Over time, it might change, might update, but there's always a mission, vision, and values. And I've talked before, when I was even interviewed, I always talked about having a personal mission, vision, and values, and then making sure that obviously that's aligned with the company. And if you don't own that company, if you're not an entrepreneur, but you're working for one and you're an executive, it always helps when those two are in alignment. But I find it that a lot of people sitting down and writing it down for themselves struggle. Do you have any tips for best way do you get together with somebody, a coach? What's helpful to write down your personal mission, vision, and values so you can actually have something to?
Start with what you know, let it grow 100%. I do have the opportunity to work with individuals one-on-one. Sometimes I do groups with my husband as well, where we can help people out with that. You can hire individuals to help you, definitely helpful, but realize that no matter what you're doing, you're still going to start with what you know, and it's still going to grow. And so the first thing to do is to pay attention to what your life demonstrates is truly important to you. What is What do you do every day that inspires you, fulfills you, energizes you? What do you choose to invest your time in? What do you not procrastinate on? We can sit here and judge ourselves all day long for the things that we're procrastinating on, but that's because you're replacing it with something that's more important. So if I actually looked at your day and you're like, oh, I didn't do this or that, Carly, or I didn't do this, I'm like, well, what did you do? All of a sudden, you're going to start to see these patterns emerge on a daily basis, and you're going to notice you're hyper-focused. Again, it's about 3 to 5 things you're hyper-focused on. And you're like, and then if I break that down and I say, well, if I just talk to one of your friends or family, are they going to say that you talk about this all the time? You want to discuss it all the time? You think about it all the time? You're invested all the time? And they're going to be like, yeah. And I'm like, because that's you. That's what's meaningful for you. That's what's purposeful for you. And how do you create a vision out of that? You know, and the vision is not just, it's also for yourself. Like, it's for ourselves and what we would love to experience and achieve in those specific realms of life. But it's also what we can provide to others as well. You know, where our purpose and our mission and our vision meets the needs of someone else, that's a product or service. And that's an inspired product or service that we'd love to create. And so that's something to think about too, because sometimes I meet a lot of individuals who are like, oh, I just want to get out of my business and be done and retire. And then sometimes I get them after they retire and they have to go back to work. And I was like, how's retirement? And then they're like, oh, I miss it. And I'm like, what did you miss? And when we try to break it down, they're like, really horrible. And they're like, I was bored. I was drinking. I was smoking. It was awful. I had nothing to do. And I was like, you grateful to be back at work? And they're like, yeah. And so it's not even that we want to get out of work, but it's like, how can you create something inspiring, fulfilling that you didn't think you wanted to retire from? You know, that even if it was challenging that day, you knew and you felt that you were on that mission. And to me, that's one of the greatest gifts that we have as humans, is to be able to actually craft something like that for ourselves. And so when I say, like, I definitely am going to work till the day that I die, like, that's one of my goals. I want to be one of the oldest CEOs on the planet, like 100%. I want to work till the day I die. But only because I love what I do. And then it does feel like work. Like, life would be incomplete if I didn't have it. And some days when things are really stressful, like, I actually feel like I can go to work and take a break, right? Going to work is taking a break. And it's like, everyone has that opportunity. But first things first, understand who you are, understand what's important to you, understand what's valuable to you, understand your vision and mission. And oftentimes, this is a cool thing for owners and individuals who already own companies, is there'll be that already in your company. You just might not have recognized it yet. And then it's like, you might have first gotten into this company to create an income, which I see quite frequently. Like, I have one individual who got into construction to create an income because they wanted to create an income. But at the core of what they do now is they love building teams and they love helping others to empower themselves, to create financial freedom, to have this opportunity to have a base salary, but to be able to make commission to such a degree that you almost act as an entrepreneur. So they have safety nets with the opportunity to become incredibly wealthy. That was their goal because of the challenges that they went through with watching their parents in entrepreneurship, and they didn't have that safety net. And so it's cool. It's like they thought they just wanted to make money, but it's such a deeper mission. And then when you connect to that on a hard day, you're still going to work because you're like, this is more important than my emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just supersedes it immediately. And you feel it and you're inspired. Yeah.
Joy and fulfillment. Pretty awesome. As a founder of West Coast Growth Advisors, you specialize in helping businesses scale. How can leaders ensure that they're scaling with purpose and not losing sight of the vision, speaking of vision again, in the process of scaling?
Yeah, so definitely you want to establish your vision. That one's really important. And you want your goals to work around achieving that vision, right? So we have our short-term goals, but we also have long-term goals. And we have, the big, hairy, audacious goals. Like, what's the thing that you would love to achieve that seems a little bit crazy, but you really want to achieve that? And it's all aligned with that vision. You don't want to set goals that are outside of the alignment with the vision, because that means that that's not the true vision. If it's that easy to change, you did not connect with the vision at all. You want to really focus on those dynamics. And then you also want to pull out the core values of a company, so it's not just the core values of you, but pull out the core values of a company that align with that vision. Because when you get those values of the company that align with that vision, that's another guiding tool to make sure you're on track. And then when we get into the weeds of all like the little bits and pieces, you're you're checking in, you have job scorecards for people, you have the KPIs that you're keeping track of each individual person. Like, they're responsible for different things. Each part of the leadership team has their own responsibility. You're checking in on a daily basis. Like, there's rhythms to create and structures and systems in a company to make sure that you're focused and tracking it on a regular basis and ensuring you're on track, ensuring you're focused there.
So speaking of growth, limiting beliefs can be a significant barrier to leadership growth. What strategies do you recommend for identifying and overcoming those beliefs to unlock leadership potential?
Yeah. And this is cool because this is the reflectionary component, because sometimes we'll say things like, I can't do this, and there's two dynamics. You may have a limiting belief where, in the sense that you actually can do it, but you have a misperception about yourself, but also it might not be purposeful to you. There are things that I'll say that I cannot do. And can I physically do it if I really put my mind to it? Probably. But the truth is I don't want to. So sometimes if there's something that's necessary to be done within a company and you're like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do it, but it's necessary and it's aligned with the vision and it's aligned with the core values, find the person to delegate to that says, I can do this and I love doing this. This is my thing, right? Because that shows me that that person is enthusiastic about it, inspired by it, because it's aligned with what's truly valuable to them, truly important to them. So that's one thing to check in on. If it's a dynamic where it's not something you delegate and you're like, I feel like I can do it, I just don't know how, I'm so confused. It's like, this person seems like they have what it takes. Do I have what it takes? That's a different level of self-doubt. When I hear language like that, I know that that person is disowning the part of themselves that has the very thing that's necessary to move forward. And what I'll do is I'll actually just go find it in life. The best way to shift your perception is the same as when we shift a business, right? We want to sell a product or a service. What do? We want to go collect customer data. We want to research, gather data, because then we know what to target, right? I want to collect data from your life. This is personal development, like at its core, when it really works. It's not an affirmation. It's collecting data from your life. So if I go into your life and I show you all the different ways that you've done the very thing that you don't think you can do, right? I'll go in and I'll say, where did you do this? Where did you do it in this way? Where did you do it in this way? Where have you done it in this way, right? And sales is a fun one, by the way. You'll realize when you do this with sales, you've been selling your whole life. And you're like, and I remember that time when I was a kid and I somehow sold my dad on giving me ice cream for breakfast. I'm like, yeah, you were a salesman at 4. You were a salesman. And like, I laugh with my friend. She's got a newborn that comes over who's already a salesperson, because we talk about how this kid, like, actually, she's like, you can tell when it cries to get what it wants versus when it cries because there's an actual issue. And I was like, already making So we have these traits and qualities that we admire our entire life. You're not void of anything. When I go through this process, it's just going through to find it within that person. And you'll see that you didn't have it in the form that you thought you should. You just had it in the form that was more inspiring to you. And that really gives you the certainty, the permission, the self-worth, the natural confidence to move forward without needing me to hold your hand, without needing motivation. You just go. And so that's why the data is so important when we're doing personal development. It's not an affirmation. An affirmation is a fleeting moment, but the data will last you forever. The data is a permanent, cemented in your conscious, unconscious mind. I don't have to go back and do that one again.
That's awesome. And you also emphasize the importance of focusing forward and thriving from the inside out. How can leaders cultivate this mindset while managing the boring day-to-day pressures of their roles?
Yeah. And this is the thing is it's all about the journey, right? So focusing forward is about focusing on today as well. And this is cool because it's like our journey, if you're not enjoying your day-to-day, you're just not enjoying your life. And the thing is I want you to fill your life with things that are inspiring and fulfilling to you. And as a business owner, as an executive, if you're hating your day to day, there are things that I do with executives where we can dive in. And if there's little components that, it's just, that's it. That's your job. We dive in, we work on it. It gets it through, you see a deeper purpose behind it, and we can move forward. But if it's become so extreme that it's just not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. Then you're probably in the wrong role. You're probably in the wrong role within the company. And the leadership team, it's like, how do you pay attention to that? Because you can have this person that's a potential A player in the wrong role, which makes them a B player, a C player, right? And if you put them in the correct role, all of a sudden they are lighting up. They're enthused. They want to come to work because you've given them something that they would love to do. You know, if you move someone around like that and they're just hating their job no matter which way they go, they're probably not a fit for the company. And it's interesting because sometimes we feel like bad letting go of people. And I've worked with executives, but also I've worked with employees too, my friend. And I'll be like, okay, you got fired. Tell me the truth. I hear that you're mad. What did you hate about that job? Because you're acting like a victim, but nobody gets fired without being unproductive, which means you didn't like the job. And then we go through it and I'm like, great, so you got fired. What do you actually want to do? And then the truth comes out. And so remember too, it's like if someone doesn't want to be there, we're also letting them go to give them permission to move on to the true stage that they would love to work on. You know, the thing that they're scared, those are the steps that people are scared to take, right? They're scared to take it on their own, which is why individuals attract that opportunity to get fired so they can get that next step, and they're forced into it and pushed into it. So it's really paying attention. It's a lot of work, but it's funny when it becomes like a system, it just becomes more methodical and it becomes a rhythm. It's like you don't think about waking up to brush your teeth as work. It's just something that you naturally do. You want to create these things in your company to be such a system that it's just a natural rhythm that occurs. So it's just like brushing your teeth, you know, checking and seeing how your employees are doing. It's like brushing your teeth, right? Having meetings and seeing like if someone could go somewhere else, checking in, doing little like check-ins on a daily basis on the vision, on the mission, on the goals, on the KPI. You want it to be as natural as that. And it does take time, but once it does, imagine if that became your natural state. Like what would your company look like, right? So this is why I say it's like in the beginning, of course it takes work, but then once you get there, it's just the maintenance. Then we're maintaining, and with that maintenance, you have a higher and greater opportunity for growth. Because when you have that level of stability and you're building blocks of this like strong of a foundation, it's far easier for you to grow.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So I have a couple of personal questions before we wrap up, but before I jump into that, anything else you would like to add that I quite possibly missed? Probably a lot, but
yeah, sure, you go on for days and days. Yeah, it's just, this is worth it, you guys. Like, I know when we talk about this stuff, it's the concepts are quite simple, and you'll be thinking to yourself, yeah, I know this, but I'm still not doing it. Like, so if you're not doing it, get some help, whether it be help within the company or outside the company. Get some help, because these are things worth implementing, and you're not going to do it. And I don't expect you to do it. Quite frankly, I don't want you to do it. If you're the owner, if you're the executive, if you're one of the leadership teams, you're not meant to be focused on something that I'm meant to be focused on. I want your genius to be applied where your genius thrives. And if this isn't it, walk away. If it is it, that's awesome. You're the person in the company to do something like this. But this is where it's like, get really smart, and we humble ourselves to say, like, I'm not going to be able to do this on my own, which is most of the case. And that's just, by the way, most companies, it's a bit of a shit show on the back end. That's
somewhere
normal.
there.
Yeah.
We all need help.
For sure.
So what's one thing you do every morning besides brushing your teeth to set that tone for a productive and positive day?
Every morning I ask myself what I would love to do, because I think mornings are kind of a great opportunity on living in things that inspire you. So I'm very clear on what my purpose is. I'm very clear on what inspires me the most. This morning, I chose to dive into some educational and learning stuff. Some days I choose just actually to hop on and get straight to work. You know, some days I choose to hang out and spend more time with my dog or my husband. Like every morning I say, what would be the most fulfilling for me today? And I actually give... That's my fun free time for me to pick. And then I just pick what I want to do. That feels like the most inspiring.
Freedom's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's my mornings. Everything else is pretty scheduled, but that's my morning.
If you could have dinner with any leader or a visionary, past or present, who would it be and why?
Yeah, who would I want to have dinner with? Gosh, that one's so fun, because I feel like there's so many people I was just reading about someone, and his name is like slipping my mind right now, but he's the guy who Oh, his name is slipping my mind. He's the guy who basically is responsible for creating information technology and being able to transfer information from one place to another. And I want to say it's Charles something, and it's such a huge individual in our world, in our universe. But that would be a great person for me to connect with. And I just say that because right now I've been listening to a book on his life, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. I like learning about you. So I want to talk to him now.
Awesome. If you could describe your leadership superpower in one word, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely that values, that purpose dynamic, and the human behavior component is really learning how to understand people and how to get them inspired instead of motivated, so that they're thriving in challenge instead of just like surviving.
So what's the one word?
Yeah, thriving instead of surviving.
There you go. Thriving is a great word. What's the best way for the listeners to connect with you?
Yeah, definitely the website. So westcoastgrowthadvisors.com. Yeah. And you can reach out to me directly there.
Awesome. Carly, thank you so much for joining us on Leadership Talks podcast. Your insights on breaking free from mental roadblocks, embracing authentic leadership, and scaling with purpose have been incredibly valuable, at least to me. To our listeners, I hope you found inspiration and actionable takeaways. Take action there to apply it in your own leadership journey. And remember, as Carly shared, you have everything you need within you to lead with authenticity and make a meaningful impact. If you want to learn more about Carly Pepin, check out her website, her coaching on the transformative work she's doing with westcoastgrowthadvisors.com, right?
Yes. Thank you.
And be sure to check out the links in our show notes. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to Leadership Talks podcast for more inspiring conversations with leaders who are redefining success and impact. Until next time, lead boldly and live with purpose. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Talks. Don't forget to subscribe for more insightful conversations with industry leaders. Your support means a lot to us.